if you bought the roll feeder and the laminator and you're looking at the boxes wondering, how do these things go together? You have found the right video. So a couple things before we start. First, this setup works on any of the 3 Omni models. So single UV, dual UV, or UV plus DT fabric. The roll feeder and the laminator are not exclusive to one model or the other. This is the dual, but I could put it on my other one. One reason I put it here is because I have the space in front of the machine, which, by the way, the laminator requires about 10 inches in front of the machine. The roll feeder does not sit next to the machine. It sits inside the machine and replaces the platen, so you don't need any extra space for that. Okay, this is one that will change what you can buy. And I'm gonna reiterate this a couple of times throughout this video. You cannot use the roll feeder by itself. It has to run with the laminator. Not always being used as a laminator, but you do have to have the LM1, that's this, pulling the material through. It is basically the feed mechanism for the roll feeder. So if you were planning to just buy the roll feeder, add the laminator later, that's not going to work. The laminator is fine on its own for sheets. The roll feeder on its own, not really a thing. All right, one more thing so you know what you are in for. This setup of these two takes like 3 to 5 minutes. It's very straightforward. It's the calibration after that took me 4 tries and a lot of wasted material. I'm gonna show you all of that, including what finally fixed it. All right, guys, let's go. All right, let's start with getting the roll feeder situated. So this is the regular base plate. This or mechanism. This is where the small base plate would go. This is where the regular size platen would go. And this is also where the roll feeder goes. So it hits right on there. You need to make sure that this roll part is more towards the back. Okay. All right. That'll sit right on there. Now I'm going to show you how to load the material. So the material that it comes with is the film. And what we want to do is make sure that the lead part of the film is facing towards us. Okay, so it's going to sit in just like this. You want to make sure it's like in that position. So let me grab this, which is 2 parts. So the one that has the teeth is going to be on the left, and the smooth flange is going to be on the right. I never know if I'm saying that right. So if I'm not, you could feel free to correct me or just know that I don't know how to say that word. Okay, so we've got it like this, and we're going to sit it right in here. Now, once you put it in here, you want to make sure that this teeth side, the left, there's another little gear looking thing down here. It's really difficult to see, but I think you can see it from this angle. So they need to be working together. Okay, so you see all 3 of those things that are now moving. All right, so that's exactly what you want. The laminator is going to attach under here in these little slots. Okay, so there's a couple things we need to do before we can get it to attach in there. Okay, now right now I have the laminator facing the wrong way, but I'm doing that just so that I can show you. So first of all, I have B film in here right now. Okay, so we can keep the roll of B film in there, but we don't want it going underneath the roller like this. So we want to adjust this until the number on the inside here hits number 4. So I'm going to turn it. It's really hard to see, especially when I don't have my readers on. Okay, enough that it can roll back up. All right, so this can just safely kind of sit in here. Okay, now there is these 2 pieces right here on either side need to be pulled down. This, when the machine is turned around, is where it's going to attach into those little pieces that I showed you prior. But this is going to be pulled down when you go to do that. And this little connection is going to be what hits the machine, okay? All right, so let's just get these out of the way, and we'll turn the laminator around. Now, let me show you what it looks like from the side, okay? So it's connected in there. Now, those of you who are asking, how much room do you need? I probably need a little bit more room, to be honest. Now, you're going to use the laminator not to laminate necessarily. So I have this canvas roll. I'm going to move this so that you can just kind of see better. So I'm going to pull the roll, and I'm going to pull it like this. And then I am going to feed it underneath this first roller, okay? And this is not going to be laminating. This is literally just going to be used as kind of a guide for the roll feeder. Now, you can use it as a roll feeder on material that needs to be laminated, but we're not doing that in this initial setup because the material that we have does not need to be laminated. There is a very, very faint, small white line over here, and that's where you want your material to be lined up with, okay? This is really loose right now, so just keep that in mind. And then you're gonna turn the knob again, this time so that the number goes back down closer to 1 and you get more tension. Oops, I'm going the wrong direction. You want it to be tight so you can't pull this, okay? You're going to close the cover, and now you are ready to use the laminator literally as a guide with the roll feeder. Now, this is the setup when you are not using UV DTF A film in the roll feeder. Okay, that is a different setup, and I'll do a separate video on that once that material is available. But for now, this is how you're going to set it up. And hopefully this answers a question of how these two are used together, and then also how much space you need. Once you have both units connected, and you'll see in your software that they're both recognized up here, so you've got the roll feeder and the laminator. The first time this will just pop up, laminator calibration. I will show you after I'm done going through this where to find this if it doesn't pop up, but let's get this calibrated. So it's going to give us the directions. Okay, so before you begin calibrating, you need to make sure that the roll feeder, laminator, and film are correctly installed. There's a tutorial there. I will tell you that it goes through what we just went through at the beginning of this, and when using a new film, recalibrate. Okay, so start calibration. Printhead is in sleep mode. We need to wake it up. So in order to do this, I have to leave this, and so I'm gonna have to show you how to get back to it anyway. So in device health is how we get to the wake up. See how it says wake up here? All right, while it's doing that, I'm going to show you how to get back to those calibrations. So you're going to click this little gear icon up here. It's not going to let me do it while we're in this state. Okay, so that has completed, and now we need to get back to the calibration. So we're going to click this little gear up here, and under calibration, you'll have this option here for laminator calibration. So we'll click start, and that gets us right back where we were. So we will click start calibration. And now that we are out of that mode, laminator, it literally is telling me what is wrong. So this is not necessarily like it's not set up correctly. It's just there's something as simple as the laminator lid is open. So I'm going to go close that. Okay, it appears that the calibration is now continuing. Okay, the calibration has failed. The error code, the error code is not there, but it looks like a sideways smiley face, like haha, like it's laughing at me. Okay, so I'm just gonna click calibrate again and see if it works this time. Please, it's checking the film tension. If I get the error again, it doesn't actually look like it's doing anything though. Okay, so the only thing that I changed between when it said that it failed and when it accepted it was I slightly loosened the tension using that up-down knob on the front of the laminator. So that I think what that probably did was allow the canvas roll that's in there to not have quite so much tension. All right now it's saying it's printing a pattern, and then it's going to ask us to continue the calibration. Check the calibration pattern, then select the number where the white ink and the color ink align most accurately in the vertical and horizontal directions. Okay, so we need to actually look at this, and unfortunately, the way that it is in the printer, we need to look from the top. So I'm gonna move the camera and show you that. This looks nothing like what I see in the software, to be honest with you. This looks absolutely nothing like what I see in the software. I'm going to quit this calibration and completely start over because I don't know what that is in the software, but it looks nothing like this. Okay, so that was the first attempt, and I want to be really clear and honest with you. It took me 4 tries and probably at least a half an hour to get this thing calibrated. So here's what I tried in between because I think it'll save you a bunch of material. I'm not going to show you all my fails, but what I will say is that the failures were different each time. So first, as you saw, I had it just in the software said it was completely failed. That second time, it printed, but they were nowhere near each other. The third time, I pulled a fresh section of film so that I had a clean printable area and started the calibration completely over. And again, I had a failed attempt. This time, the pink and the black squares were printed closer together, but literally none of them aligned. So then I decided, you know what, this must be something to do with the tension knob that I had adjusted earlier. So what happens is when you load the film between the roll feeder and the laminator, you have to adjust the knob to make sure that it's basically at the very perfect spot, but nothing tells you what the perfect spot is. So I thought that because the initial calibration had failed and then I adjusted the knob that was the fix, but it turned out I may have gone too far. So it wasn't pulling the material at all. So there's this narrow window. If it's too tight, the material can't move at all. If it's too loose, the material isn't moved at all. And so nothing tells you that. I will tell you that I found that a millimeter height of 1 millimeter is, for this canvas, what worked. So on the third attempt, it did print exactly like the second one, where it still was just not aligned at all. And that's when I just cut everything off. I threw it away. I completely reloaded the laminator from scratch. So the roll feeder stayed where it was. I made sure that the laminator was hooked up into the Omni the way it should be, and it was. Everything was completely exactly where it was, but I reloaded the laminator. I set the height adjustment to a 1, which you have to look at the little spot on the inside. And that's when I also noticed that you want to make sure that the material going across the top of the roll feeder is not like buckled at all. It needs to be taut so that it's flat. Otherwise, you end up with this out of focus. So once I fixed that, then it finally seemed to work. Hallelujah. It finally worked. Okay. All right, it finally worked. So we need to go look at which one is correct. Check the calibration pattern. Select the numbers where the ink most aligns. X1. I don't really understand the XY, but let's see. To me, it looks like 2 is the best one. Part that's confusing, and I want to be specific, is because it's asking for an X value and a Y value, but what prints is just a single horizontal line, and there's nothing on that pattern labeled X or Y, and there's no second axis to read. So my best guess is that X is left to right and Y is up and down, and you're meant to just judge both from there, where the pink sits against the black, but that's just a guess, and nothing really tells you. I put 2 because 2 was the best one across the board. Okay. That was not easy. I have to admit, that had me sweating. I have set up plenty of equipment. That calibration was not for the faint of heart. I wasted a bunch of material. This is after I cut off, I don't even know where the other piece is. I literally had so much time while I was waiting for it. I cleaned my part of this office, so I think I threw it away. But I was planning on doing the first print using both of these, but I think this video has kind of already taken on a life of its own, so I'm going to stop for there and I'll do a separate video on the first print with the roll feeder and the laminator. Now, I can't stress enough that the roll feeder cannot be used in the Omni without the laminator. Again, it doesn't have to be in lamination mode. It's basically being used to feed the material. So you will need both things if you're planning on using the roll feeder. The laminator can be used in standalone mode, but not when it's hooked up in line. So you would have to use it like completely separately. So the only way the laminator can be used when it's hooked up is with the roll feeder. The only way the roll feeder can be used is with the laminator. The laminator can be used by itself, but not when it's hooked up to the Omni. So if you are looking for any one-on-one same day help and support, if you have questions about your Omni, if you need one-on-one help, I already said that part. I am so fried from this tutorial. I offer all of that through Silhouette U. I will put a code in the description below. The code will be YouTube. You can use for 50% off when you join Silhouette U. And of course, if you guys have any questions, comments, feel free to leave them in the comments below. It is helping me to create content that you are asking for, that you are wondering about while you're in your buying decision mode, while you are trying to do all your setups, while you're trying to get going. My goal here is to have me do the struggle so that you don't. All right, guys, see you soon.